It's been 6 months since I bought Google's flagship top-of-the-line Pixel 10 Pro XL, and honestly, I really like this phone. The first highlight for me has been the physical design, and while not much has changed except for this new moonstone color, I continue to think this is one of the best-looking smartphones on the market. Google has really hit a stride from a hardware design standpoint. The Pro phones look nice, and I think Google's camera bar really gives it enough of a defining feature to not look too generic. But let me know if you agree with that in the comments. Pixel Snap, Google's answer to MagSafe. This has been one of the best upgrades that I think Google has made to their Pixel line, and it's an advantage Google will continue to have over Samsung now that we know that the S26 line, the phones themselves, do not have the magnets in them. Now, some of the phone cases do, but you really do want it in the phones themselves. Whether that's using your phone as a webcam, snapping it onto a MagSafe car mount, or just having a reliable way to make sure that your phone always stays on the wireless charger and charges properly, this is genuinely useful in day-to-day life. Another improvement with this phone I noticed compared to its predecessor involves its speakers. They have a more well-rounded sound overall, sound less harsh than before, pretty much on par with my iPhone. And the display is another step up. To me, it looks quite a bit better than the 9 Pro XLs. Thanks to the adaptive tone feature, which uses an ambient light sensor to adjust not just the display's brightness, but also its color temperature. Something Google actually had in the Pixel 4 XL, but then inexplicably removed and has now finally brought back, and it's great. This display also gets really dim for nighttime use, which I appreciate, which perfectly complements Google's bedtime and focus modes. And there's now an accessibility setting for adjusting PWM. You can now adjust it from 240Hz to 480Hz. Now, this is still a lower pulse width modulation than some competing Android phones on the market, especially from Chinese brands, but here it does bring it up to par with Samsung and Apple. Next, let's talk about the camera system, because this is where the Pixel continues to shine, and also where I do have some frustrations. On the hardware side, you're getting a 50 megapixel main wide sensor plus a 48 megapixel sensor for the ultra wide and the telephoto, and a 42 megapixel front-facing camera. In my experience, the washed out look you'd get in the Snapchat app has been fixed. Selfies will look more washed out in the regular camera app, but still look good, in my opinion at least, after they process. Now, if you're looking at the Pixel 10 versus the 10 Pro, I'm not really going to dive into the specifics in this video on how their camera systems differ, but I'll leave a link to the comparison I did between those two phones if you want to learn more about specifics between the two camera systems. So, what about general photo quality? The Pixel still produces true-to-life photos more consistently than any other Android camera system that I've tested. Images are crisp, colors are overall good, not too saturated, and Google doesn't have a habit of blowing out the highlights the way Samsung and Apple do. That said, it does sometimes produce colors that feel a bit too muted or washed out, at least for my taste. Like this shot of Leo, where his coat just looks a bit more dull than it actually does in real life. But because I normally shoot in full 50 megapixel mode with RAW and JPEG, I can correct that in post when I need to. Video Boost continues to be one of the real strengths of Google's camera system, consistently producing better looking footage compared to my S25 Ultra, and even outperforming the iPhone 17 Pro Max on occasion. One thing I wish Google would let you do is default to always having Video Boost turned on. It's really annoying to have to manually turn it on every time I'm on a shoot and want to use it. You can set RAW to always be on, but why not Video Boost? And that's not the only frustration I've had with the camera system. Lens flares with lights and refractions, particularly in night shots, woof, it's pretty rough. That's a real downside if you're planning to use this for video at night. All right, next up, let's talk software. Now, if you've been liking this video so far, by the way, let me know that by hitting the thumbs up button below. It really does help out the channel. Now, software. This has always been one of the highlights of the Pixel experience, and with Android 16, it's no different. The new animations, haptics, and multitasking transitions all feel more polished. The settings menu has a cleaner look, and everything just feels like it got a design refresh. Notification management on Android continues to be a better experience than what I deal with on iOS. It's just easier to triage what's coming in, and the granularity of control you have over individual apps is something I miss every time I switch back to an iPhone for a stretch. Some other software highlights are speech dictation, that still remains excellent. The haptic typing experience is still the best I've used on any phone. The weather animations in the background are a really nice touch, and the new AirDrop compatibility with QuickShare that came to this phone before any other Android devices for my use case for sharing files with my Mac has been really useful. And that's one of the other benefits of going with a Pixel. You get Google's brand new features first. Like, Pixel's just got Android's new desktop mode. And Google has given us some pretty great Pixel Drop features this year. We now have a dedicated Now Playing app for all of the songs that the Pixel can identify that's been playing in the background, plus the ability to generate new custom icon packs. That's also pretty cool as well. Now, the Pixel 10 Pro already has some impressive AI features built in, but when it comes to high-stakes meetings and calls, there's a hardware companion that takes all of that even further, and that's the Plaud Note Pro from Plaud, who sponsored this video. It's a purpose-built AI note-taker that pairs perfectly with your phone. It's credit card thin with a built-in display, 4 precision MEMS microphones engineered specifically to capture conversations more accurately than a phone ever could, and you get up to 50 hours of continuous recording. Unlike your phone, it won't get pulled away by a notification mid-meeting. Think of it as a second brain sitting right next to you, handling all of the listening and transcribing, so you can just focus on being present in the conversation. You can tap the button to highlight key moments in real time and even snap photos of slides or whiteboards to give the AI the full picture. After the meeting, Plaud's AI generates a transcript with speaker labels, a summary, but what really elevates this to a full professional workload is Plaud Desktop. It captures audio directly from your computer. Everything from your in-person and online meetings gets organized into one central hub. And when you need to find something, you just ask. Ask Plaud searches across all of your recordings in plain language. So check them out using the link in the description. There's a 30-day return policy, so there's zero risk in trying it. And thanks to Plaud for sponsoring this video. Next up, a related software feature of this phone that has really stood out to me over the past 6 months is Gemini. I found Gemini and Gemini Live to actually be genuinely useful, more so than I expected coming in. And I've used it to take photos of my space and floor color, and then take some article furniture and have it generate what different furniture pieces would look like in specific rooms. It's been generally great for all sorts of queries. That being said, I still don't use it for things where I need the information to be 100% factual. And now that Gemini has access to my personal context, meaning all of the data that Google has on me across all of its apps, Gemini has just become even more powerful. It's able to search through things like my Gmail history. I was looking for a product I had ordered a few years ago, and I was having trouble finding the product email, and I just went to Gemini, and it just found it for me, which was awesome. Now, one ongoing frustration I still have with it is it cannot play from Apple Music. Now, I know I'm probably like the only person on earth trying to do that with a Pixel phone, but the Google Assistant could do that, so the regression here is still annoying. One pleasant surprise with this phone has been battery life. I'm typically ending the day somewhere between the upper 50s to mid 60% range, which for me is pretty good for a phone of this size. The Pixel 10 Pro XL has a 5,200 mAh battery and is rated for well over 24 hours of use in normal conditions with battery saver turned on, according to Google. Now, for my use, I'm only doing about 1 to maybe 2.5 hours of screen time per day, and then I've got another 1 to 2 hours of background activity for music and podcasts. Now, that being said, if you're out in the sunlight, you're shooting a lot of video footage, that is going to chew through this battery considerably faster. I was seeing closer to 40% to the upper 30s by the end of the day on long shooting days. That being said, this is still ultimately, for my use case, more battery than I actually need in a day. All right, so 6 months later, what haven't I used with this phone? First is Magic Queue. This is a feature that's supposed to use your personal context on the phone to surface suggestions in different apps, even in Gboard. But I've rarely seen it outside of Google Messages and Google's Phone app. And even there, I haven't really run into this feature all that often. Another thing I haven't used is the Daily Hub feature that debuted with this phone, but that's because Google actually pulled it shortly after launch due to performance issues and user complaints that it wasn't surfacing relevant information. 6 months later, it still hasn't come back. ProRes Zoom is also impressive in demos, but it's not something I've found myself actually reaching for day to day. Typing an edit request into Google Photos and having it apply the change is another really cool feature. And for beginners and photography novices, I think it's genuinely great. But at this point, for me, it's usually faster to just go in and make the adjustments myself. Same thing for the camera coach, by the way. All right, now let's talk downsides. And the biggest one by far for me, and this will shock you if you've been watching the channel for a long time, it's weight. And I think it is just unfortunate that Google decided to make this phone heavier than the previous generation. Look, I think I've said it before on the channel, but I'm gonna say it again here. Phones should be getting lighter, not heavier. And look, if people wanna watch TikTok and Reels all day on their phone, that's great for them. Give them something modular, let them slap on a battery onto the back of that thing so they can watch it for like 10 hours. That's great. But if the iPhone Air has taught me anything this year, it's that we are all carrying around way too much weight for the screen size in 2026. Like these phones, the screen size is pretty similar. And I can tell you as somebody who has been switching back and forth between these phones now for months, the one that I have gravitated towards using on a day-to-day basis is the one that is thinner and lighter. Now, if you disagree with my take on phone weight, by the way, definitely let me know in the comments. And for more hot takes from Josh on weight and other things with technology, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Now, another issue I ran into with this phone was with playing and pausing media, whether that was via the Pixel Buds or when this phone was connected to over Bluetooth in my car. I would often just get the Gemini sound acknowledging that I was trying to play or pause media, but it would never actually do anything. It's not something that I've been able to produce consistently, but it happened enough over the past 6 months that I did want to mention it. Now for a few smaller downsides. Focus modes in 2026 still do not sync between Pixel devices, which is crazy. So if you put Do Not Disturb on your phone, it does not affect your Pixel tablet. Oh, and when I finally got fiber internet, another thing I noticed right away was that Pixels just seem to be way more finicky about when they switch off the 6 GHz band for Wi-Fi 6E compared to my iPhone. All right, and the very last downside, it's not specific to this phone per se, but this phone definitely still applies. There's no easy to replace battery by the end user in this phone. To be fair, none of the other big smartphone manufacturers have an easy to replace battery by the end user, but I think having that would go a long way for people to be able to actually keep these phones for the long term. So, do I recommend the Pixel 10 Pro and Pro XL? Yes, if you want an Android phone that doesn't come loaded with bloatware, has an excellent camera system, great battery life, a solid design, and a great display, this is an easy recommendation. Now, about the only area where this Pixel doesn't quite measure up against the competition is with the Tensor G5 chip. For intense mobile gaming or other processor-heavy tasks, that's the one use case where I'd point you somewhere else. But for my daily needs, shooting photos and videos, checking email, general app use, it's been totally fine. But before you go out and potentially buy one of these things, 2 quick things. First, if you want my thoughts on how it compares to the Pixel 10, I did a full comparison, I'll link that here. Second, we're now at the 6-month mark with this phone. So you can expect in another 6 months, Google will come out with the Pixel 11 line. So if you don't need a new phone right away, might be worth waiting to see what they come out with later in the year, or at least see if these then go on a more significant sale. Speaking of which, you can check the current price of the Pixel 10 Pro and Pro XL over at 6monthslater.net. I built a blog post for this video with current pricing, links to other retailers for comparison shopping, and if you want to see if there are any Pixel deals going on right now, head to 6monthslater.net/shop Type in Pixel deals and any current deals will surface. This was one of the more fun things I got to build on the site recently. And make sure you follow the site for all of the updates to the tech that we cover. I got a lot more fun things planned for our website throughout the year, so make sure you check it out. For 6 months later, I'm Josh Tedder. Thanks for watching.